IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046100457. 1. Characteristics and classification of living organisms. Living things show 9 characteristics. Mrs. Greener, a species is a group of organisms that can reproduce to produce fertile offspring. The binomial system of naming species is an internationally agreed system in which the scientific name of an organism is made up of 2 parts, showing the genus and species. Classification systems are ways of sorting organisms into groups by the features that they share. Such systems try to reflect evolutionary relationships. Keys are used to identify unfamiliar organisms, with dichotomous keys having 2 branches at each stage. The sequences of bases in DNA are used as a means of classification. Groups of organisms that share a more recent ancestor, are more closely related, have more similar base sequences in their DNA than those that share only a distant ancestor. Plants make their food by photosynthesis, autotrophs. Animals get their food by eating plants or other animals, heterotrophs. Arthropods have a hard exoskeleton and jointed legs. The classes of arthropods are insects, arachnids, crustaceans and myriapods. Vertebrates have a spinal column and skull. The classes of vertebrates are fish, amphibian, reptiles, birds and mammals. Prokaryotes are microscopic organisms, they have no proper nucleus, bacteria. Protoctists are single-celled organisms containing a nucleus, plasmodium, which causes malaria. Fungi are made up of thread-like hyphae. They reproduce by spores. Ferns have well-developed stems, leaves and roots. They reproduce from spores. Seed-bearing plants reproduce from seeds. Flowering plants have flowers, their seeds are in an ovary which forms a fruit. They are subdivided into monocots and dicots. Viruses do not possess the features of a living organism. Some examples of binomial nomenclature: meerkat, suricata, human, Homo sapiens, bamboo tree, Bambusa vulgaris, cholera bacterium, malarial parasite, Plasmodium falciparum, frog. Rana tigrina, rose plant, Rosa indica. Keywords: Mrs. Greener, movement, reproduction, sensitivity, growth, excretion, respiration, nutrition, adaptation, homeostasis, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, angiosperms, dicots, monocots, gymnosperms, prokaryotes, monera, protista, fungi, plantae, animalia, animals, annelida, earthworm, leech etc., arthropoda, mammals. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046100457. Glossary: antenna, long narrow sense organs on the heads of insects, containing receptors of touch, taste, smell, humidity and temperature. Coleoptile, sheath-like protective covering over the first formed leaves of grasses and other cereals. Key: a sequence of statements about the characteristics of a group of organisms which can be used to identify an organism belonging to that group. Spore: a microscopic reproductive cell released from an organism during asexual reproduction. Typical of fungi, mosses, and ferns. In bacteria, a spore is a resting or dormant stage of the life cycle, usually formed when conditions are unfavorable. Species: a group of organisms which can mate together and produce fertile offspring. Hyphae: fine hollow threads which make up the body of many fungi. Vertebral column: the backbone or spine. A chain of small bones called vertebrae that support the body, protect the spinal cord, and permit bending movements. Short MCQs with right answers. 1. Which row shows substances removed by excretion? 2. Which 2 parts are included in the scientific name of an organism? Genus and species. 3. How many jointed legs does an insect have? 3 pairs. 4. What is used as a means of classification? The sequence of bases in DNA. 5. What are characteristics of all organisms? Excretion and nutrition. 6. The scientific name for the golden eagle is Aquila chrysetos. What is the genus of the golden eagle? Aquila 7. The diagram shows 4 arthropods. How many of these arthropods are insects? 2. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046100457. 8. Living animals release carbon dioxide. This is an example of which life process? Excretion 9. Some statements about species are given. Which statements are correct? 1. Members of a species belong to the same genus. 2. Members of a species can produce fertile offspring. 3. Species are named using an international system. 10. The table shows some features of different animals. Which animal is a reptile? 11. What are excretion, sensitivity and reproduction characteristics of all animals and all plants? 12. The photograph shows an organism. Which visible feature can be used to classify this organism as a bird? Feathers. 13. The diagram shows an arthropod. Which features are characteristic of all arthropods? Jointed legs and segmented body. 14. A green-leafed plant produces spores. To which group does the plant belong? Ferns. 15. The diagram shows an arthropod. It has wings, 3 body parts and 6 legs. 16. Which process removes the waste products of metabolism from the body? Excretion. 17. According to the binomial system, how should a human be named? Homo sapiens. 18. Which characteristic of living organisms is responsible for the production of oxygen in the leaf of a plant exposed to sunlight? Nutrition. 19. The scientific name for humans is Homo sapiens. What does Homo refer to? Genus. 20. Which shows an organism that has been named using the binomial system? Homo sapiens. 21. Which system is used for naming species? Binomial. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046100457. 22. Which characteristic of living organisms can involve ingestion, absorption, and assimilation? Nutrition. 23. Which process in plant cells uses chlorophyll? Nutrition. 24. Which vertebrate groups have scaly skin? Fish and reptiles. 25. What is defined as chemical reactions that break down food molecules in cells to release energy? Respiration. 26. An organism has dry scales covering its body. To which vertebrate group does it belong? Reptile. 27. The plant Mimosa pudica has leaves that fold in when touched. This demonstrates movement and which other characteristic? Sensitivity. 28. A student observed a vertebrate swimming in a pond. The animal's surface is smooth and hairless. It used its forelegs to swim. At intervals the animal came to the surface to take mouthful of air. To which vertebrate does this animal belong? Amphibian. 29. Worms come to the soil surface after heavy rain. Which characteristic of living organisms does this show? Sensitivity. 30. An animal can swim, has a backbone, suckles young and breathes air. To which group does it belong? Mammal. 31. What is a feature of both insects and arachnids? Exoskeleton. 32. Which group does not contain animals that are arthropods? Annelids. 33. Which process provides the raw materials for tissue repair? Nutrition. 34. Many snakes that belong to the viper family are unusual in that they give birth to live young. This is usually characteristic of which vertebrate group? Mammals. 35. Which feature is characteristic of both annelids and arthropods? Segmented bodies. 36. Growth is a characteristic feature of living organisms. Which process provides energy for growth? Respiration. 37. Which characteristic do all living organisms show? Excretion. 38. All fish, all birds, and all mammals are vertebrates 39. Which organisms carry out respiration, growth, movement and excretion? All mammals and all plants 40. What kind of skin do amphibians have? Moist without scales 41. What is not a characteristic of all living organisms? Photosynthesis. 42. The statements describe 4 different plants. Which plant must be a monocotyledon? The leaves have parallel veins. 43. What is a correct way of naming using the binomial system? Ranunculus acris 44. Some lizards detach their tails when threatened by a predator. Which characteristic is shown? Sensitivity 45. Which name is given to a group of individuals that can reproduce fertile offspring? A species 46. What is a characteristic of amphibians but not reptiles? Laying eggs in water 47. Breathing out combines which 2 characteristics of living organisms? Excretion and movement 48. Scientists discover a new species of animal. It has segmented body with 2 pairs of legs on each segment. To which group of animal does this new species belong? Myriapods 49. Which term is defined as all the chemical reactions that occur in cells? Metabolism 50. Biology is the study of living things. Which characteristic applies to all forms of life? Able to reproduce 51. 2 animals have an identical sequence of amino acids in one of the proteins found in their cells. What does this indicate about these animals? They share a recent ancestor. 52. What are the characteristics of insects? Have 6 legs, and have 2 body sections, X. 53. Which structures are present in a bacterial cell? Cell wall, nucleus, X54. What are the features of the leaves of a plant that is dicotyledon? Broad leaves, parallel veins, X. 55. Which characteristics do bony fish have? Backbone, scales, hair, X. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046100457. 56. What are the characteristics of bony fish? Maintain constant body temperature, X, external. Ears present, X, jelly-covered eggs, scales. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology